Well, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Kitchen Table TCG. My name is Louie. Hope you're having a great day. Today, we're talking about the size of your set. We're talking about Magic the Gathering's set size, everybody. Size matters. Hate to be the one that tells you that. But with Wizards just churning out sets in 2026, and before we get deep into that, there's a lot of pushback on that. I understand that in the past years, there have been an equal number of sets or 6 sets or whatever, but 7 sets coming out, no Commander Masters, no reprint set, no Master set. Like, it is 7 uniquely new Magic the Gathering sets. It's a lot of sets for them to produce. I'm gonna leave it there. You can disagree with me if you want in the comment section. But it's a lot of sets. With them churning out 7 Magic the Gathering sets next year, with the pressure of Hasbro for them to continue to print money, to continue to keep the business afloat, they are utilizing the intellectual property, this isn't rocket science, of Spider-Man and of Ninja Turtles. They're saying, hey, we can put less time and development into the sets. We can make the sets smaller and utilize the IP to sell the boxes. In my opinion, that is what's happening. And I think that there's a lot of negative to that. And as somebody who, I sell cards to a lot of people who are investing in cardboard or cracking open singles. They're cracking open singles to sell on TCG Player. And there's a lot of business element to the audience on this channel. And I think when you start really looking at Magic the Gathering, one of the biggest things you can look at is on the sets coming up and you're thinking, oh man, how much Avatar should I order? How much Final Fantasy should I order? How much Spider-Man should I order? How much Lorwyn should I order? One of the factors should be, when you look into that, is how big is the set size? Because the set size really has a big effect on a lot of things. And let's get into that a little bit. If your set size is smaller, it means that when you open packs, you're going to hit the big hits more often. Maybe not for something like the Soul Stone where they short print or that kind of thing. But on average, a smaller set, just statistically, means that you're going to open up the singles, the mythics, the whatever, more frequently than a larger set. A larger set has more cards to pull. This isn't rocket science, right? But that logic applies to then people who are cracking open boxes to sell singles. Instead of having, let's say they open 40 boxes, and instead of having 17 copies of the mythic, now all of a sudden they have 40 copies of the mythic or 30 copies of the mythic. And so the sell-through rate doesn't meet it. And so the price is lower on those cards, making it less profitable, making it less easy to crack open boxes. If it's less easy to crack open boxes, they sell less boxes. You get the point. But it doesn't just stop on the financial side. It also applies to the limited environment. And this is, I think, I'm okay with listen, I run a business. I'm okay if we have a set that doesn't do super well. It's just the way that business is. I'm okay with that. But what I don't love is when players sit at a table for a pre-release night or for a draft night and they're playing and they're just like, this isn't fun. I'm opening the same card over and over. And we saw this with Spider-Man drafts. When you're drafting Spider-Man, the small set size means that you see the same cards way too often. It's just not as fun. It's not as engaging of an environment. And it really affects the limited play of these sets when the set size is really small. And so Spider-Man was sitting at around 190 cards. It was just announced, so the thing with Spider-Man is that originally it was supposed to be a smaller set, maybe something like a Beyond booster box like Assassin's Creed, where it wasn't really meant to be drafted. It wasn't a standard set, that kind of thing. But they pivoted late in development and they made it into a full-fledged Magic set. And I think that was a mistake, right? Like, they made it into a full-fledged Magic set and they added some cards and ended up around 190 cards. Compare that with Final Fantasy. I believe Final Fantasy had 308 unique cards, which is like 40% more. That's a lot more cards. And Final Fantasy is a full-fledged, really, really good Magic the Gathering set. The singles environment's great. Drafting is super good. The theme is great. I think Final Fantasy is the perfect, if they're going to do Universes Beyond, I think Final Fantasy is the way they should do it. They did it really, really well. It felt like a really good Magic the Gathering set, but then it also paid homage to all the Final Fantasy things. I think that is the perfect way to do it. It was just announced that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is also going to be a smaller set. It's going to have 190 cards in it. That being said, from development start, they started development making it a regular Magic set. I would anticipate, if they haven't already, I would anticipate that they will also say that it is a 2-pick draft set, just like Spider-Man. But man, it doesn't give a lot of confidence when you look at the smaller set sizes over the last couple of years and you look and you see how they performed compared to the larger set sizes. The reality is that people like a deeper Magic the Gathering set. People like a deeper draft. People like to be able to open packs and get something unique and get something different when they open it, not the same thing over and over. It's not a Magic the Gathering thing. The same thing was true for Sorcery. The same thing's true for Pokemon. The new Pokemon set, Phantasmal Flames. The rumor is it's a smaller set than Mega Evolution 1. Now it's got a Charizard in it, so maybe it'll be okay. But the point is that this is something that applies to all trading card games. With Sorcery, with their second set, it was like 220 cards or something like that. And it didn't do as well as Beta. Obviously, it didn't do as well as Alpha. But their new set is coming out. It's 440 cards. But it takes a lot more time to develop a set of 400 cards than it does 200. You have artwork. You have game design. You have all these things going into it. And in Magic standpoint, when they're churning out 7 sets a year, they've got to do the marketing for all that. They've got to do the card design, the product testing. They got to get the IP licenses, which then they fumble and they have to do the IP licenses again. They have a lot of things, a lot of legwork that goes into these sets. So by making the set size smaller, they don't have to go as deep, right? You can't, with Spider-Man, you can't just create a new character, right? With Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you can't just be like, well, we're kind of out of turtles, so let's just throw in a 5th turtle here. Let's throw in a 5th turtle and make it work. Maybe there's more than 4 turtles. I know there's 4 main turtles. Maybe there's a 5th turtle already. You get what I'm saying. You can't just create another turtle to make the set bigger. So you're stuck kind of in this world where you either have to go really deep cuts for these IPs that maybe the average Spider-Man fan isn't a super deep cut Spider-Man fan, so then they're just like, what the heck is this card? You either have to go super deep or you just make it a smaller set, and all of a sudden you have less product testing. All of a sudden you have less artwork to design. All of a sudden you have less balancing act of the different formats and that kind of thing. And so at the end of the day, I think it's something that's going to continue to happen because Wizards is they're not going to fix this, right? They're not going to be like, hey, we looked at it and Avatar is going to be 280 cards. So Avatar did really well, and Final Fantasy did really well, but Spider-Man and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles struggled. Maybe it's the set size. Maybe we should make all sets, a similar size of like 300 cards-ish, and that should be the standard for standard format. They're not going to do that. They're not. They like money. They don't need to do it. But you as a consumer, me as somebody who buys a ton of Magic the Gathering, I mean, we spend $1 million more than that on Magic the Gathering. It is insane how much money we spend on Magic the Gathering and how much we churn through product and do things. When you're dealing with that kind of thing, you have to do the research. You have to know that a smaller set is probably going to perform less. Now, they could also solve this by printing less boxes. They're not going to do that, right? Like we saw with Spider-Man, they put out a huge second wave of collector boxes on release weekend. You saw it on Amazon, the restocks and whatever. Smaller sets equal less development time, equals less time to create the entire process, but I think it also equals a cheaper quality to the environments, both the singles environments. So it's just something to keep in mind, I think, when you're looking at these sets. I think Spider-Man is actually going to be okay. I think the biggest thing with the smaller set sizes is it's the initial, right? Like the first couple months. the whole thing kind of collapses on itself because there's just so much product. I think over time, as long as they don't like continue to reprint it like crazy, there's still great cards in it. Like there's still really good Commander stuff in it. I think it's just not a fun limited experience. So like I know at our store, nobody wants to draft it. So we have all these extra play boxes because nobody wants to draft the set. And so I think that's probably the similar point around. That might be why you see play boxes so cheap on TCG Player, because if people don't want to draft it, then I got to move that product. So we throw that product up on TCG Player. We throw, as a store, that's just what you end up doing. It just drives that price down. Compare that, over time, that stuff gets eaten up and then the singles start looking better. So I don't think it's like ugly. I don't think this is like things are bad. I just think you got to consider that set size matters when you're buying your Magic stuff. So those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I hope you have yourself a fantastic day. Remember to be kind to the people around you. We'll see you again next video.